Hello my friends, thanks for stopping by. I hope you all having a great day. Welcome to the Healthy Zone. It is very cold outside and we are nearing towards the end of October. Our weather gets very cold here, so this is the time that I like to make soups. Soups can be made in advance and they can even be frozen, but I make our soups up usually on the weekend, and then I will just put them in glass containers in the refrigerator. And I make Lou's lunch every single day, so sometimes I'll send a soup with him, but I like to have them because it's an easy, clean way to eat and keep yourself on track so that you're not reaching for something because you don't want to make something. This way, if you have the soup, you have it already made. So I thought I would start out by just showing you the ingredients you will need for this soup. And today's soup, I'm going to be making a white bean soup. And there are so many white bean recipes out there, but I've added some earthiness to mine. And it is a Tuscany style white bean soup. Now, you can make this vegan by omitting the Parmesan cheese, then it is completely vegan. Or if you're somebody who needs to have that meat, you can add a chicken sausage to this, or turkey sausage, or pork sausage if you eat pork. I don't add any meat to ours because I like to have a couple of days out of the week for Lou where he's not eating meat all the time. It's a good thing to try to get in the habit. Anyway, for this soup, you will need some vegetable broth. Now, if you choose to use chicken broth, that is absolutely fine. But I like to use vegetable broth, and these are two 32-ounce fluid containers, and this is the organic Wegmans. You will need either Tuscan kale. I prefer Tuscan kale for this over a curly kale. Anyway, you would need a bag of the Tuscan, or you can use spinach. I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to use today. You know, I fly by the seat of my pants. So it will be either spinach or kale. You could also use Swiss chard if you wanted in this recipe. I don't like greens that get really bitter, so you always will see me using some sort of spinach or kale, okay? You will also need 2 cans of cannelli beans. And I buy the organic because the cans are free of BPA. So you'll need 2 of those. We are going to drain them, but now we're not going to rinse them. You will need 1 can of a very small diced tomato, and mine is seasoned with garlic, olive oil, and seasoning. I like the Wegmans Italian Classic. It's very good, but there are many other. You could also use roasted tomatoes, canned diced roasted tomatoes in this. You will need some fresh rosemary sprigs. If you choose to use dried, remember that you'll use less of your spices than me, okay? Because dried is more potent than the fresh. So you'll need some rosemary. You'll need 2 bay leaves. You will need some fresh thyme. You will also need, now this is where I change it up a little bit. I've also changed it up a little bit with my spices, but this really makes the difference. It really pulls it into that earthiness. And this is dried porcini mushrooms, but usually you would soak these. I'm not going to soak them. I'm going to just give them a quick rinse, and then I'm going to use them in a coffee grinder and just grind them up so it's just like a dust of the mushrooms that will go into the soup. It adds incredible flavor. Excuse me. You will also need 2 stalks of celery, and we're just going to dice this. A medium dice, not quite your mirepoix, but a medium dice. I love garlic, and I think it brings everything to life. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cloves of garlic here. 1 rather large onion. And 2 carrots. Now my carrots I don't peel, I will scrub the outsides of them, and I leave the skins on because most of the time in your fruits and vegetables the nutrients are in the skin. So I will leave that on there. You will also need a little bit of crushed pepper. I will put the recipe underneath, of course, the video. And this is another thing that I add that I absolutely love the flavor of it going through. Of course, if you don't like this, you will omit it. It is fennel seed. I love fennel seed in this soup with the porcini mushrooms. Love it. All right, so Excuse me. And of course you'll need a little olive oil for sauteing your vegetables. If you don't want to use the olive oil because you're cutting calories or you're on Weight Watchers, of course go ahead and saute in a little bit of your broth. I like the healthy fats in my diet, okay? So, and we're only going to use about 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and this soup makes a big pot, so it, you split it up and then you're only getting a small amount of the healthy fats, okay? All right, so I'm going to turn the camera around. I've got my pot on the stove. Unfortunately, I will have to turn the fan on because I need to have my exhaust going when I'm burning the flames, which is gas. So I will talk a little louder during so that everyone can hear me. Okay, so I'll be right back with everything in the pot and we'll get going. Stay with me. Hello my friends, we are at the stove. I've decided on my red pot and I've also decided on spinach for this recipe. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is add some olive oil to the pan. My pan is heated. I like to add my olive oil to a heated pan. Just about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and we want to take it and just swirl it around the bottom so it's coated. And then I'm going to take my mirepoix, which is your onions, celery, and carrots. I'm going to place those in the pan. I'm going to add some salt and pepper to this. I keep my salt and pepper in a bowl. I just think it's nice. And this is kosher salt. Just salt and pepper those. Don't go crazy with it because the sodium, I know I'm stepping in front of the camera, sorry. Don't go crazy because the sodium in the broth is enough, but you need to balance it off. Plus you're adding some canned tomatoes which have their own level of sodium. Okay, so we are going to stir that around. And you want to let this cook down for about 4 minutes. You do not want it to brown. And I'm going to add in my garlic now. I like to always put my other vegetables in first, so the garlic is laying on top of them for just a few minutes so it doesn't burn, because once you burn with garlic, there's no going back. You know that? Alright, so now we will just stir it all together and we're going to adjust our heat down to a medium and allow this to cook for about 4 to 5 minutes, just until the vegetables are translucent. You do not want them to be browned, all right? So turn them down a little bit and allow them to cook down to that translucent stage. And then we will come back and add, I want to get the garlic in there. I can see it's all clumped to one area. All right. So that is it, and then we'll come back and we'll add our spices and so on. And just while I have you here, this is the porcini mushrooms, the dried porcini. I put them in my coffee grinder that is designated just for spices and herbs, and dried mushrooms, of course. And I bring them down to a powder, and we will add those when we add our spices. All right, my friends, here we are. We're back at the stove, and our vegetables have cooked down to a translucent stage. So now I'm going to add the spices and some juices to it, meaning the broth. And first I'm going to add my 2 bay leaves, just throw them in there. And then here I have my rosemary chopped up finely, my thyme chopped up finely. I took some I have about 1.5 teaspoons of rosemary chopped up, 1.5 teaspoons of thyme chopped up, and then I have about 1 teaspoon of fennel chopped up, and I have just about 1/4 teaspoon of the red pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that over everything. Get it all. And we're just, that fennel just comes alive immediately once it hits the heat. So good, my friends, so good. I will not steer you in the wrong direction. Unless, of course, you don't like fennel, and then I can't help you. Just leave it out, okay? All right, so the next step, I'm going to put in the the ground porcini mushrooms, and these were dried porcini mushrooms. They come in a pack like this, and they are Melissa's porcini dried wild mushrooms, and it's 1.5 ounces, so you just grind the whole thing up, and we're going to put that over our vegetables. And I'm just going to stir it up a little bit just so it incorporates. Now we want to add a whole container of our broth. It should cover all of your vegetables. And it does. So we're just going to stir that, get it all going. And you want to give this about 25-30 minutes just so all of your vegetables, including the mushroom powder, has softened. So you bring it to a nice little simmer for 25 to 30 minutes. You can add all your broth now, but I just do it in stages. It just makes it easier. It boils up quicker. I mean, if you were going to have this for dinner, you know, and you also, remember, you don't have to add the dried porcini or the fennel. You could just add everything else and have a white bean Tuscan soup, and then if you wanted, you could add, you know, some turkey or some chicken or sausage, whatever you want. I wouldn't use beef with this or lamb. You could put some pork sausage in here, but lamb and beef are not going to go with especially the beef. Ugh, yuck, yuck. Okay, anyway, we're going to let that simmer up and then let it go for about 25-30 minutes, and we'll be back. All right, my friends, as you can see, this is really reduced in the broth, so that has actually created a wonderful flavor. So now we're going to go ahead and add our beans, which I've had draining on the sink. These are the cannelli beans, 2 cans. Just add them right into your mix, and then go ahead and add, if you're adding, a can of tomatoes, and this one has garlic, olive oil, and seasonings in it. Add it right into the mix. And then you will have to add some more broth, so we're going to go ahead and we are going to add the rest of this. So I'm using 2 containers, so that would be 8 cups of broth. And then I may add some water towards the end once it reduces more. So we're just going to give this a quick stir. Now I don't put my spinach in yet because I like to serve it with the spinach just wilted. Now, as we eat it during the week, the spinach will cook even more because once I put it in, I can't control that, and I don't want to add it in every single day. So I will put it in towards the end for our first serving, and it will just be a beautiful wilted spinach in there. But now we're going to let this cook down for about 15 minutes, and I'll probably, like I said, add some water to it. And then we'll go ahead and we'll add our spinach, and we will be done, and then I'll plate it up and show you how yummy it looks. All right, my friends, we are back, and the soup has simmered for about 30 minutes, and you can see that it is reduced a little bit. So now I'm going to add in, you can, at this point, you can take out the bay leaves, but I'm going to leave them in, and then just before I serve it, I'll take them out because I really like to add as much flavor to my soups as possible. So now I have a big tub of spinach that I washed and spun. So now I'm going to just throw handfuls of it in, like quite a bit, okay? So that's quite a bit. I have maybe a half a tub left, and I'm just going to push the spinach down into the soup, and you'll see now that it needs a little bit more liquid. So I'm not going to add any more broth. I'm going to add about 2 cups of water, and that'll be perfect. And now I'm just going to allow this to simmer for a little bit, just to warm back up after I added the cold water into it. And the spinach really wilts down quite a bit. So, and at this point, your soup is just about ready. So if you'd like, you can serve this with a beautiful, you can use Italian crusty rolls, sourdough, you can use a whole grain roll. You can serve it with a salad, half a sandwich, or just by itself. I'll eat it by itself, it's enough for me. Lou, I always serve it with either a salad and a roll or a full sandwich. He likes to have something else other than soup. But this soup for me is just fabulous. I absolutely love it. So I'm gonna let it finish up a little bit, and then I'll come back and plate it up for you, okay? Okay, we're back, our soup is done. Can you hear that slurping? That's my girl. She's eating her dinner, and she drinks tons of water afterwards. You may see her walk by me right here, because when Bindi is done eating, she makes a sweep all the way around. So watch right here. You might get a glimpse of Bindi. Many people have been asking for Bindi. Well, I think Bindi thinks she's Hollywood now, because she will do absolutely nothing for the camera. She's making her sweep. She's coming around. Over here, baby girl. Over here. What's there? Okay. Where is she? There she is. There she is. What you doing, girlie? Come here. What you doing? Look, what you doing? All right, so I'm back and our soup is done. It is just lovely. I can smell the porcini mushrooms. I can smell the fennel, just gorgeous. So I just have a small little bowl here in my ladle, and I'm just gonna ladle some of the soup into the bowl, like we normally would with soup. And it is just gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And let me bring it closer because, you know, I don't have anybody to zoom it in. Look at our beautiful soup. You see that? It is gorgeous. All right, it's not focusing. All right, so anyway, now I would go ahead and sprinkle some parmesan over it. And for me, that is wonderful. Of course, you will want your salt and pepper shaker by in case you need to season it up that way. But I love this soup. I love it, love it. The fennel is so fabulous in it. And now what I will do is I will let this soup cool completely. You can't see Vindy. I thought you, oh yeah, you can see, there she is. You can only see a little bit of her, but there she is. Anyway, I would allow it to cool down completely. And then I have these mason jars that are about 1.5 cups serving. And I will just put them all in here and put the lid on, and I will keep them in the refrigerator, and then all week long all I have to do is take one out and heat it up. Now I have frozen these too. Some of the mason jars are freezer proof. So I think the ones I have, some of them are, some aren't, but you can always freeze this soup and then just take it out without thought and you have it all winter. I just think it's fabulous. I hope you'll all give it a try. And next week I might work on another little snack item for you. Lots of things planned. Somebody asked me what I do with the butternut squash. Sometimes I just roast butternut squash. Other times I use it in soup. I'm going to try out a recipe I saw. I need to tweak a few things in it. And if it turns out, I've already got things in my head that I want to add to it, but it turns out I'll be bringing it to you. It's another soup, but it is with the butternut squash. And now I do like butternut squash on its own in a soup, but I don't make it that often because I consider it boring. So anyway, and I don't eat boring. I gotta have lots of things bursting out of my meal, okay? All right, so let me know if you're gonna give this a try. Of course, you probably are already making a Tuscan bean soup, white bean soup, but don't forget to take your bay leaves out of here. Bay leaves should not be eaten, so don't forget to take them out. But anyway, I'm sure many of you have this type of recipe. Let me know what little thing you add to yours that makes it different from mine. But I just think the porcini mushroom and the fennel in here is just, and I don't think a lot of people put the rosemary in there. So I think that, but definitely the fennel and the porcini mushrooms. Mwah. Wonderful. Bon appetit, my friends. All right, thanks for stopping by. Don't forget, subscribe. We're anti-aging here. Be happy, be healthy, be beautiful, and most of all, my friends, be lovable. I love you all. Bisous.